Welcome to the FastFix channel. My name is Jason, and today we're replacing the window motor assembly on this 2008 Honda Civic. This job is applicable to all 8th generation Civics as well as other years with slight differences in procedure. Okay, let's get started. First, roll your window about 1/4 to 3/4 of the way down. This will position the window mounting brackets so we can get at all the bolts. Next, remove the switch panel. Use a Teflon tool to pry up around the seam. I like to start at the end near the armrest, then make my way down. Disconnect the 2 wiring harnesses by pushing down on the tabs and pulling the harnesses out. There's a screw we need to remove now. It's a little hidden but easy to take out, as you see here. Moving on to the door handle now, there should be a plastic cover over this screw and push pin, but clearly this one has been stolen. Simply remove the screw near the locking mechanism. Next, we need to remove this plastic push pin. This can be a pain to loosen, but keep at it. As you see, mine did not come out perfectly, but was reusable nonetheless. At worst, you'll break it and get a new one from the auto parts store. The door can be removed now by pulling or prying on the door following the outer edge. I'm using brute force on the side nearest the speaker. Now use your Teflon tool and pry up around the other edge. There's really nothing to this, just peek into the door and make sure all the pins are disconnected before you try to take off the panel. The door can be removed now by lifting in an upward fashion. Then spin the door around in order to access the cables that'll be disconnected next. Both cables have a black retainer clip. Unhook these to free the cable connecting arm. Unhook the cable connecting arm by simply lifting up. There's a white retainer clip that needs to be unclipped now. Once unclipped, the cable is free. The other cable is a bit more tricky. Start by pushing the tab in. If it doesn't break loose, check around the upper right corner and see if there's interference. In my case, the piece wouldn't unlock due to interference from another part. Pry lightly to free the clip. Then, remove the cable connecting arm to free the cable completely. With the door panel out of the way, we can remove the plastic shield. Start by removing the push pins on both corners. It was about 40 degrees when I completed this job, and the cold didn't make removing this piece any harder. In fact, it may have been a bit better with the cooler weather. The sticky material was easy to work with and perhaps less sticky due to the cooler temperature. As you are moving along, simply slide the cables and any electrical connections through the barrier. Just be careful when removing this piece. You don't want it folding in on itself or coming into contact with your clothing. I had to reconnect the control panel and move the window down a bit farther. Just move it down until you can easily access the bolts seen here. These bolts are adjustable, so take note of their position. I'm marking with a pencil to give me a reminder of where the bolts sat. You won't be reusing this piece, but if you forget how the bolts aligned, this can be helpful. Once the bolts are removed, the window will no longer be secure. Use painter's tape to secure the window. If you choose, you can remove the window entirely, but I prefer to keep it in place like this. Remove the 2 bolts on the window mount. These are 10 mm. Now remove the 4 bolts that secure the window regulator brackets. These are also 10 mm. Whoops, forgot to disconnect these clips. Just pry up to remove. Now unplug the wiring harness from the window motor. After you've done this, you can remove the final bolt. The assembly will be loose now. Just move it down, then up and out. I've got to say, this piece was showing its age, but I can't fault it much. It lasted over 13 years and 260,000 miles. Install the new assembly in the reverse of how it was taken out. Sorry my big head is in the way here, but if you were able to get the assembly out, you can certainly get it back in. Big head's in the way again. As you're tightening the bolts, make sure they align with the witness marks that the bolt had left on the paint. This will make it easier to get the window aligned on the first try. Reconnect the control panel back up in order to move the window mounting bracket up into position to capture the window. Thread the bolts back in, remembering their position from the removal. Mine were tightened with the bracket mostly moved to the left, which positioned the bolts to the farthest right in the adjustment slots. When tightening the bolts, hand tighten these only. Over-tightening will cause your window to break. Avoid this. We can remove the painter's tape now that the window is secure. Test your repair. The window should move up and down with no interference. If the window is binding up, you may need to adjust the mounting bolts to ensure a proper fit. Before installing the plastic shield, clip the wire loom back into place. Now install the plastic shield. There's no real trick to this, just make sure you pull the cables and electrical components through before you tack the shield back up. Whoops again, I shouldn't have plugged that connection back in. Sometimes it's hard to follow your own advice. Now simply position the shield to its original location and apply pressure. This will re-tack the shield into place and you will be all set. Now install the cables back up. It's simply a reverse of the removal steps as seen here. Installing the cables on zoom turned out to be a pretty big challenge, so I had to zoom out for this. But you can see it's just a matter of making the connections. Zoom back in again, place the coiled section into the white clip, and hook it back up. It should press in nicely. We're on the home stretch now. Just place the door over the top lip, then snap the connection pins back into place by applying pressure or hitting the edge of the door panel. Now connect the control panel back up. Once done, install the screw near the armrest. Now snap the control panel back into place. I didn't film installing the push pin and screw into the door handle area, but don't forget that step. After that, you're done. Hey, if this video helped you, please help me by liking and subscribing. It makes a world of difference. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.